Hi everyone, my name is Dennis and welcome to First Electric Ride. Behind me is my Volkswagen ID4, a car I've learned a lot about through charging challenges. This is a Chinese market vehicle that I bought in early 2022 without fully knowing how to handle it. I started by charging it at home as I didn't have any adapters. First, I used a CHAdeMO adapter, which many of you also use, then tried a CCS adapter. But now it's time to upgrade the port. Today we switched to a CCS 2 combo port from a European vehicle. Now let's bust some myths together. I'd been told that the Kyiv battery in this car wouldn't work well with a CCS port. Many people changed the port without adjusting the charging power, leaving it at around 90 to 100 kilowatts or 250 amps. I also heard horror stories about how part of the wiring remains the same, unable to handle more than 250 amps. As you've already seen, we reached a peak power of 400 amps or 141 kilowatts. So let's dive into this topic together. My friend Sari, who you may remember from our video on discharge testing, is going to help me out. If you haven't seen it, check out the link. Now we're off to the Master Service Center. Meanwhile, Serhi will tackle the first myth, whether there's a factory adaptation for Kyiv batteries from China for CCS 2 combo ports. After our trip to the service center, we'll test 3 cars with GBT ports, 1 with a GBT to CCS adapter, and my car with the modified port. We'll head to an impressive 240 kilowatt charging station built by ND, the first domestic charging station with that power level. We'll test the charging process, record 3 curves, and conclude whether it's worth changing the port for higher power and how much faster my car will charge. And as always, I'm counting on you for a big thank you all. Let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Serhi, and I work at Master Service. I'd like to share some technical insights regarding the adaptation of an ID4 for the Chinese market to a CCS 2 port. Here, we have a container with all possible configurations of the ID4 across various markets. Our charging port options are managed by PR codes ranging from ES5 to ES8. Here, you can see the 4 options. The ID4 for the Chinese market is equipped with an 82 kilowatt-hour CATL battery. This CATL 82 kilowatt-hour battery is consistent across the European, American, and Chinese markets. The only difference lies in the charging port configuration. Here, you see the 4 configurations. Each configuration manages the charging current for its specific port, enabling increased power with CCS2. So, I can confidently say there's no need to worry about switching from a GBT port to a CCS2 port. The manufacturer has accounted for everything. You just need to configure it correctly. Thank you for your attention.
This is Vladislav, who's helping us with installing the new port today. You've already seen everything firsthand. I didn't want to interrupt or distract him, but now, after the teardown and before we reassemble, let's get a few words from him. First, thanks for agreeing to help with this project and for sharing this information with everyone. Please dispel our next myth. Actually, the second one. Siri and I already cleared up the first one, showing that the firmware isn't a workaround. It's a factory solution, and it's possible to increase the power for the ID4. Now it's your turn to debunk the second myth, that no wires are replaced and that power can't be increased because the system supposedly can't handle it. That's the first question for you. And for the second one, tell our viewers what we're actually changing. What have we removed, and what are we installing? People often describe these conversions as makeshift, but from what I know, it's essentially a bolt-for-bolt setup, just as the factory intended.
There's nothing makeshift about converting to a European charging type since it's all standard equipment. As you can see, this part was removed, the Chinese GBT port charger, and we'll be installing the European version. Only the charging port is replaced with this complete kit. The wiring from the port itself cannot be removed as it's a single solid unit. This right here is the charging port. We're also replacing the cover. The charging port cover and door are swapped, and everything fits bolt for bolt. There's no cutting, no grinding, no drilling. It's all done according to factory specifications. These cars are designed from the factory to accommodate either the Chinese or European version. We're simply installing the European version, which takes some time and skill, but it's all done to factory standards, and everything will work exactly as the manufacturer intended. Now, in more detail, let's go over exactly what needs to be removed and how the process works. Look, the car is already on the lift, and the subframe is partially unbolted, so I can't lower it any further. First, we remove the charging port door cover. It's held by fasteners, and there's a 50% chance that these fasteners might break. But since we're installing all new equipment, everything will be intact and undamaged. So, the charging port cover is removed, followed by unbolting the charging port itself. It's secured here by 4 bolts, with these openings, and also 2 bolts underneath, on a small mount. Here are the openings. We also need to partially disassemble the trunk interior to remove the wiring and the emergency release cable, specifically the emergency unlocking cable for the charging port. If the locking mechanism jams, you can use it to release the charging plug. The wiring goes through here with a seal. We took it all apart and hung everything up. Next, we remove the charger, which is located here. It slides right in here. The wiring for the charging port that connects to the Type 2 port attaches on one side, and on the other side, the direct current wire, which goes to the battery, comes out here. This is the only original wire left. This wire is sufficient to upgrade the 7 kilowatt charger to an 11 kilowatt one. Everything is designed for this, so there's no risk of overheating or melting. It's all factory standard. Here's where the fast charging wire goes, and it's replaced entirely. It runs directly from the charging port to the battery's connector for charging via CCS2. Here's the connector, and if the subframe is bolted on, you won't be able to remove it. Moreover, since the brake lines are nearby, they could be damaged or bent, so it's best to unbolt the subframe slightly, just 2 bolts, using the hydraulic strut. This lowers it a bit, allowing you to proceed safely, and an alignment will be necessary afterward. Now, see how it looks in more detail. This wire is for slow charging and runs directly to the charger. The 3-phase port and 3-phase wire connect here. Press here to connect. It attaches here. It's currently locked, so you need to unlock it and press here. And this is the wire for fast charging. This thick wire here is for the fast charging port, with positive and negative terminals for fast charging. This is CCS Type 2. That's the type name. This connector plugs into the battery, and this plastic section needs to be installed just as it's done at the factory. You can't do that without removing the subframe, so as you've seen, there's no jury rigging. Everything is done per factory specifications. A big thank you for showcasing our work and how we handle this process.
And now, friends, let's leave Vladislav to continue with the assembly without further distraction. I'd also like to talk with representatives from Master Service because the scale of their service center has impressed me. I already knew they had a great reputation and expertise, but I didn't expect this scale. So let's find someone from Master Service while we wait for the charging port replacement to be completed. I propose to analyze what we have accomplished. We had 3 sessions, ID4, original GBT port, or rather ID6 and ID4 via adapter. By the way, our thermal protection kicked in, and at 44%, the power dropped to 65 kilowatts. So here are our results. From 20 to 80% with GBT took 29 minutes, and from 20 to 90% took 39 minutes. With the adapter and a power drop due to thermal protection, 20 to 80% took 37 minutes, and 20 to 90% took 47 minutes. The difference isn't substantial, but you should be aware this could happen on the road. Now, back to the port replacement. Honestly, this was my first charge from 20% to 90%, and I'm quite satisfied. The session started at 142 kilowatts, but immediately dropped to 135 and held that speed until 40%. Then it maintained 125 kilowatts until 62%, which is also decent. The next drop to 110 kilowatts occurred around 72%, and it held 100 kilowatts until 76%. These are our results. Up to 80%, 22 minutes, and up to 90%, 32 minutes. So, the difference between the 250 AMP GBT adaptation and the 400 amp adaptation with the CCS port is, let's see, 7 minutes to 80% and 6 minutes to 90%. Wait, no, it's 7 minutes for both to 80 and 90. Essentially, after 80%, both configurations behave the same. Let's reflect on this. 7 minutes, 20 to 80%. In the 20 to 80% range, the difference is 24%. In the 20 to 90% range, it's 18%. Is that a lot or a little? If you watch my trips on YouTube, it's probably not a lot. But when I drive off camera, independently, I stop every 200 kilometers. I like to take a little break, stretch my muscles. So I think I'll get something out of shorter charging sessions. About the cost, $3,400. That's not a small price to pay. What did I get? An 11 kilowatt inverter. For home use, it's debatable, but if you're traveling and arrive at, say, a water park or a shopping mall after 3 hours, the difference is already noticeable. Similarly, if you're traveling and leave the car for 3 to 4 hours, 11 kilowatts will allow you to get a substantial charge. Last night, I noticed another interesting feature of the Type 2 port. The car is charging, locked. You approach, the car unlocks, and for 30 seconds, the charging stops and the port unlocks. You take it out and get into the car. With GBT, I need to get in the car, press to stop charging, and only then get out and unlock the port. Here, the convenience is clear. And I'll tell you, since I still have C-06 hardware, it's quite slow, so this whole process of ending the charge takes me about a minute. Here, too, the advantage goes to Type 2. As for what I didn't get but wanted, plug and charge doesn't work yet. The car generates a different code each time, but Sergey and I agreed to work on it. So, higher speed factory adaptations, you saw them. Using Type 2 is more convenient with fewer adapters. Well, everyone can make their own conclusions. I don't regret it personally. Let's keep upgrading my car. Stay with us. As always, we appreciate your best likes. See you next time. Bye-bye.